scan to email, scan to folder. Okay, so here's an example of scan to email. So we're going to talk about printers again. Printers are very popular, very common thing that happens in help desk. I want to set up scan to email and scan to folder functionality for Konica, Minolta, and Kyocera, a printer for my organization. How do I do that? Thanks. And looks like, okay, it looks like we have another, just a note or a message that was sent. Okay, so he's basically saying, I would love to get a video for this on your channel. Yeah, sure thing, buddy. We're going to talk about this. So this is an example of something that we may not necessarily be familiar with. He's talking about a specific printer here. It's called Konica Minolta brand and Kyocera. Okay, which is fine. If you don't have any experience with this when it comes to specific brands, that's okay. You can always just use common knowledge or common tech knowledge when it comes to general troubleshooting and configuration of these type of things. So here it is, scan to email or scan to folder functionality. So what happens is, in this case, you would scan an email or scan a folder, and then you would send that information as an email to yourself or somebody else. So for those reasons, you just have to figure out what kind of steps you have to take when it comes to using these specific printers. So let's do this. We're going to go to Google. We're going to look for some information, and we're going to talk about it. Konica Minolta scan to email setup. So here it is, directly from Konica Minolta, which looks like a European company. We're going to look at this. So we're going to use some common knowledge here. Let's go back to it and what it says here. So if you've never set this something up like this, you're going to, it says here scan to email and scan to folder functionality. And he wants to set this up. And as a help desk tier 1, you're not going to be doing this type of stuff. Maybe as tier 2, maybe, but it's going to be more likely somebody at local tech support or somebody who has more access. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it because there are things we can learn here. So if I just scroll down, as you saw here, we can see that we can configure, it says here, configure basic settings for scan to email. And it's the very first thing that comes up. So here's a screenshot of it. I don't know how well you can see this here. It's kind of blurred to me on this screen, but I'm going to talk about it so that way we can learn something from this and to show that you can actually configure this, right, yourself. And here it is. It says here email TX SMTP settings, and here it says, email text TX settings. We're going to make sure that's checked, right? Because we want to use this function, and we're going to enable scan to email. We're going to set it to on, which is very important. And here are things that are highlighted. So we're going to talk about this just briefly to understand what's going on here with this scan to email type of thing. So you scan something and you send it to email, right? Here it is. It talks about first thing here in this other square, and it says a rectangle, I should say. It says SMTP server address. So if you want to use your SMTP server, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, just like when you configure your email in Outlook. Like if you have to go into the Outlook and manually configure these settings so that way you can receive and send email, we're going to have to configure this. So Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, we're going to have to specify what the address of that is, meaning the Exchange server. Exchange server is the email server. Every time you use your email, it's handled by the Exchange server. And we're going to just type in IP address here, right here where it says 000. We're going to change that to the location of the Exchange server. If you want to use a host name, meaning the name of the server. So instead of typing in IP address, we're going to do a check mark here, and then you type in the name of the server. We can call it, Exchange server, whatever it might be. Other important setting here is port number that is used. In this case, it's 25 for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, right? And these two parts are very important because it's not going to work unless, because you want to send it to your email, you want it to be handled by the email server, then of course you have to specify these things. Here, another thing that's highlighted here, it says connection timeout, and then you specify how, timeout, like how long to wait until this is processed, right? And then we got max mail size, and you can put no limit, or you can specify maximum size of the server or the file that you're trying to scan and send over the exchange. And you might want to limit this and put actual, where it says server capacity, and you put actual megabytes on there. You might want to change this to something that's not huge, because it will take forever to process these emails. For all of these big documents that you're trying to scan and then send it via email, it could take forever. So you might want to limit it to, I don't know, whatever is comfortable for your organization. If you see that the server is being overloaded, then you might want to specify a limit. If not, just leave it no limit. I mean, it's up to you. These are all things that you have to consider when setting up these things. And again, this is not a help desk tier 1 type of thing, but this is more like server admin, maybe tier 2, maybe. I doubt it. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on the organization. And then we got the connection timeout, which is how often you can process these. This is something that you have to specifically look for, just like I did, and get the information that you need and configure it properly. Now, just to keep going, I know he talked about Kyocera one as well. You do the same thing, and you just have to look at the manual and how it's done. And sorry, I tried to explain this as much as I can, but just take your time because it's very specific to these printers, and it's not necessarily something that help desk would be doing, but at least we've learned something. So I'm going to add a reply. I'm going to say, hello, this is Irvin with PC support. Please use printer manual to configure scan to email settings specific to that printer, meaning any of those that you're trying to set up. Meaning any of the print. Well, yeah, I'm going to leave that out. Okay. So hello, this is Irvin from with PC support. Please use printer manual to configure scan to email settings specific to that printer. These settings will be specific to your org, or meaning organization. Organization. Yes, I spelled it correctly. Haha. I.E SMTP settings and etc. Please watch video for more tips. All right.